The emissaries found us again on day 72. We saw them first. 6 ships blacker than deep space. No identifiers, no heat, no signature trails. Ghosts. They coasted through the void like predators in blood-scented water. The safe house gave us warning. A 3-second edge, just enough to power the defenses and seal the inner chambers. Alex didn't blink. The children didn't ask questions. They moved like they had always known this day would come. I powered up the railguns. Primitive, yes, but brutally reliable. Alex took position beside the emergency reactor, fingers dancing through alien glyphs that I still couldn't read. She triggered a cascade of fail-safe traps, including one laced with neutron spray. It wouldn't kill the emissaries, but it would sting. The children walked to the outer airlock. "You're not going out there," I said. "Yes," the girl replied. "We are. They're here for you." "No," said the boy. "They're here for you." That shook me. I followed them. The first ship didn't land. It bled into the surface, its hull deforming until it became a gate of flesh and alloy. Emissaries stepped out, bone-white and insect-thin, their limbs coiling like vines. One of them spoke, but not aloud. The voice came straight into my head, laced with echoes of things I tried not to remember. Return the prototype. The mother may stay. The human must die. I laughed. The boy stepped forward. "You know what I am? We created what you are." "No," the girl said. "You abandoned what we became." Lightning cracked between their palms. Not fire, not plasma, something else. It hummed at a frequency the emissaries recoiled from. One of the invaders flinched, screeched, and exploded in a cloud of molecular dust. The rest charged. I opened fire. The first 5 seconds were madness. Rail slugs punched through carapace and synth-bone. The children spun and wove around the impact zone, flickering like strobe lights in fog. Alex fought silently, her blades an extension of purpose, not rage. She moved without hesitation, killing without pause. Then the emissaries adapted. One reached me before I could cycle the railgun. Its tendrils coiled around my chest, lifting me. I saw its eyes, empty, endless. My ribs began to crack. The boy screamed. Not a word. Just a sound that broke windows and lit circuits aflame. The emissary dropped me, body convulsing, core overheating. It collapsed. The girl didn't slow. She walked through their remaining formation and turned their tech against them, imploding weapons, reversing gravity fields, tearing guidance chips from drones mid-flight. It was surgical. Within 90 seconds, they were gone. Ash! Silence returned to the bunker. Alex checked me for damage. I waved her off. My ribs would heal. The question was, how long until the next wave? The children sat down and began building something. "Are you all right?" I asked. "We're past that now." The boy said, "What are you building?" "A message." "To who?" "To them. All of them." Alex watched as they constructed the device. It pulsed with fragmented energy, each segment made from torn pieces of the emissary relay core. They wove in memory threads, blood-coated logic, and one terrifying truth. The children were no longer simply hybrids. They were emergent. "What message are you sending?" I asked again. The girl didn't look up. "We're telling the galaxy that we remember everything." The broadcast was short, 90 seconds. It hit 3 deep space relay webs, bounced through abandoned listening posts, and landed on human frequencies Earth hadn't used in 30 years. Kale received it. So did Ward. But they weren't the only ones. Ships began to move. At first, they came alone. A stealth cruiser from the Red Rift. A junker mech with a pilot stitched into its cockpit. A carrier flag with the sigil of the Martian Forgotten Legion. They didn't hail us. They didn't speak. They knelt. The children didn't acknowledge them. Not out of arrogance, but because they were focused on something bigger. They were evolving. Not in body, but in thought. "We're not just 2 anymore," said the boy. "What do you mean?" I asked. "We're becoming them. The ones they left behind. The minds that burned out. We carry their echoes." "Is that safe?" The girl answered. "It was never meant to be safe, but it will be right." Alex stared at me one night after they'd gone quiet. You still think they're just children? No, I said. I think they're history, rewriting itself. We didn't hide anymore. That was over. Instead, we invited the war to come. We built an outpost on the bones of the safe house and rigged it with beacons that taunted the emissaries. Come finish what you started. Some responded. They sent death squads, probe clusters, mind leeches. None returned. By month 4, the outpost became a haven for deserters, defectors, and those too broken to return to human command. We gave them purpose. The children showed them how to rewire their implants, how to sever emissary tethering. One soldier cried for 2 straight days after regaining control of his own mind. Then came the reclaimer fleet. 7 ships, not emissary. Worse, these were humans, twisted by ideology and greed. They'd allied with the invaders for power, feeding coordinates in exchange for survival. They viewed the children as a threat to their new order. They demanded our surrender. We gave them a choice. They attacked. This was different. They used swarm logic, misdirection, psychological warfare. They hacked our systems mid-combat, seeded us with memory loops designed to destabilize our own fighters. Alex took a near-fatal hit intercepting a drone shaped like my face. I dragged her to the medical chamber. She looked up at me, blood slicking the floor. "You'll protect them," she whispered. "I'll do more than that." The boy found me. His eyes glowed with something I couldn't name. He touched Alex's chest, whispered in a language I'd never heard. Her body arched, seized, and then stilled. Her wounds closed. Her pulse returned. "She is part of us now," he said. "What are you?" "We are memory and vengeance. Grief forged into continuity." The girl stood beside him, holding a sliver of reclaimer code between her fingertips. They thought they could overwrite us. But they never understood. We are not lines of code. We are decision, intent. I armed the final defense grid. The reclaimers breached the outer wall. They never reached the second. The children broke them, not by brute force, but by unmaking their purpose. They fed them the memories of the worlds they betrayed, the names they erased, the screams they ignored. One soldier dropped his weapon and begged for execution. The others followed. The reclaimer fleet tried to flee. We didn't let them. By the end of it, only one ship remained intact. We let it go, knowing it would spread the truth. "They're no longer rumors," the girl said. "They're warnings." The galaxy stirred. From the void came whispers of fleets waking. Buried archives booted up across forbidden moons. One by one, the signals emerged. "Received your broadcast. Ready to strike. Awaiting guidance." The boy tapped the console. "They want a leader." "And what will you give them?" I asked. "Not a leader. A mirror. Something to remind them what they were before the silence." The girl stood beside him. Before they forgot to fight. We watched the stars shift. War was coming. And for once, we were not alone. The first time a world knelt without resistance, the children didn't celebrate. They stood still, watching the transmission of planetary governors laying down arms, evacuating archives, and erasing identity codes to hide former allegiances. It wasn't surrender. It was fear. A new flag was rising. One not born from empire, not stitched by treaties. A symbol with no name, no crest, only an idea. It spread from the broken edges of memory, carried by whispers. It had no face. It had only the weight of survival. And people followed. The children stopped being hunted. Now they were studied. Some called them prophets. Others labeled them biological war crimes. And still more wanted to own them, but none could ignore them. Their signal had become the spine of a network threading through abandoned strongholds, failed colonies, forgotten defense grids. One night, the boy rewrote an entire weapons constellation orbiting a dead planet. He linked the systems directly into the outpost defense net. It gave us reach, and more importantly, visibility. We saw them coming before they arrived. Not emissaries, not reclaimers. These were something new. Black holes layered with iridescent bone. No insignias. No energy trails. Just pure silence. They didn't ask questions. They erased cities. Not a single survivor. No life forms detected, not even dust left behind. Just void. 3 systems disappeared in 13 hours. The children watched the feed without blinking. The girl said, "They don't search. They already know." The boy added, "They're not hunting us. They're deleting the map." That terrified me more than anything. I asked the only question that mattered. Why now? Because we changed the outcome. The boy said, now they have to change the rules. We named them the Erasers, an ancient failsafe buried beneath the emissary core directives. When containment fails, when hybrid prototypes achieve continuity, when emergent behavior threatens a ripple, initiate total reset. It wasn't revenge. It was protocol. The children began preparing something they hadn't before, escape plans. They instructed each cell, each colony, each resistance fragment to create redundancy shelters. Hidden vaults buried under black ice, inside collapsing stars, beneath quantum phase shift bunkers. If the outpost fell, they would carry the signal elsewhere, but I knew they wouldn't run. The boy looked older now, not in body, in posture, like someone who'd walked too many timelines and remembered all of them. The girl slept less, spoke less, stared at data for hours. They were evolving again, not just emergent, adaptive. One morning, I found Alex standing outside in the cold, windless dusk. "They're losing something," she said. "What?" "Their innocence." I looked at the sky. The stars looked dimmer. Then the warning flares lit up. A scout relay in Sector Theta went dark. Not disabled, devoured. We traced it through a captured emissary core fragment. The data was fragmented, corrupted, but one phrase remained consistent. Red silence achieved. Memory suppression complete. They weren't just killing people. They were killing stories. The children stood at the edge of the platform as the Erasers arrived. 5 ships, each the size of a small moon, each broadcasting nothing. They didn't send threats. They didn't posture. They descended like hammers. The boy touched my shoulder. "We have a plan." I figured. We might not return. I know. Keep her safe? He didn't mean the girl. He meant Alex. They launched before I could respond. The sky fractured as the Erasers opened temporal voids around the outpost. Time began to bend. Seconds stretched. Sounds warped. Our communications failed. Gravity collapsed and reassembled like it couldn't remember its own rules. And then, silence. The children reappeared at the center of the distortion. Not floating, not flying, fixing. Their presence synchronized the broken clockwork of physics, forcing coherence onto the battlefield. The Erasers reacted instantly, unleashing pulses that turned air to liquid, matter to suggestion. The boy didn't dodge. He absorbed it. He drank their entropy and rewrote it. The girl followed through. Her hand touched the eraser hull, and in that moment, millions of memories flooded into the beast. She didn't attack. She reminded. One eraser paused, staggered, shuddered, and imploded inward like a collapsing star. Not from force, from conflict, from remembering what had been built to forget. But the others learned. They changed vectors, creating quantum inversion waves. The battlefield turned nonlinear. Events unfolded out of order. Cause no longer preceded effect. I watched Alex die before the beam hit her, then blink and find her alive again. I vomited. I couldn't process time anymore. But the children could. They stabilized the field long enough for us to deploy every weapon we had. The sky bloomed with antimatter mines, phase inversion bombs, coil spike clusters. Nothing touched the Erasers. Our weapons existed after the Erasers canceled them. It was hopeless. Until the girl reached me again. "You have to kill us." "What?" "We can't hold this form. We're too connected. If they absorb us, they'll never be stopped." "I'm not killing you." "Then we do it ourselves." They moved together. The boy and the girl. 2 figures against 5 impossible ships. They pulse crackled, shifted. Their bodies unraveled into waveforms, fusing into a new shape. Bigger, brighter, terrifying. They became one. A being without fear, without doubt. The sky screamed. The Erasers recoiled. The fusion entity collapsed the local space, triggering a temporary annihilation cascade. For a fraction of a second, nothing existed. Not mass, not light, not memory. Then the world rebooted. For erasers were gone. The children were gone. One ship remained. It hovered silently over the ruined field. Its surface scarred for the first time. A single panel opened. Not a weapon. A screen. A message scrawled across it in 20,000 dead languages. Final prototype accepted. Then it left. We never saw it again. I stood beside Alix and stared at the sky. "Did we win?" she asked. "No, but they didn't either. We buried nothing. There were no bodies to recover, no remains to honor. The children had become something that didn't leave echoes, but we felt them everywhere. In the wind, in the circuits that fixed themselves overnight. In the songs the children of the refugees began to hum, without knowing where the tune came from. We rebuilt the outpost. This time we named it. The only word that made sense. Promise. People came, not to hide, to learn, to prepare, to remember. We didn't raise an army. We nurtured a legacy, one that couldn't be erased again. Stories were encrypted into star maps, sung into protein strands, carved into asteroid belts. The girl's final words remained in my head. Don't let them forget. I didn't. Not for a second.